course, the movie is also about the relationship between a father and a son, and the unspoken things between them. In some ways, it's two movies. First of all, it's a thriller, and then it becomes a horror movie more and more as you go through. So it was always a big concern of ours how to get the audience with us on that journey, to drop in signs of horror through the beginning, so that you kind of, when you get to the horror part, you're prepared for it.
Primero la ataron. Después le cortaron la lengua. La envenenaron. La paralizaron. E hicieron que se tragara la tela. ¿Qué es eso?
But this was just perfect for me as a director, with all the elements that we're playing and how suspense is built and how to do it. It was very cinematic. The screenplay was so piece by piece, extremely well choreographed. The screenplay that Richard Nang and Ian Goldberg wrote was extremely well researched. They had spent, a couple of years on the screenplay, and they'd gone to autopsies, and they discussed in length with coroners, and they really knew what they were talking about when they wrote the screenplay. And then when I got on board, I continued the process of discussing everything with extremely good autopsy people in the UK. And it was, you learn as you go, and then the actors were working with them, and we had coroners on set constantly when we were shooting the autopsies, making sure that everything was correct.
La sujeto parece tener entre 25 y 30 años. Pelo castaño.
Se acaba de emitir una alerta por inundaciones.
Ojos grises.
¿Qué te ocurrió?
We focused a lot on making this real. So it was a very happy moment for me at the end of the shoot when the coroner who had been helping us the most, Stuart Hamilton, he came up to me and said he was very proud to have worked on this movie because we really cared about the reality of everything. I think if you spend a little bit of time on the reality of things and make sure that it's all, the characters feel real, they have real problems, real issues, if I can make the audience relate to just the people, you will be much more engaged when supernatural, crazy stuff starts to happen.
Debo decir que esto no me lo esperaba. ¿Puedo ver una?
¿Qué? No.
¿Por qué lleva eso?
Es una vieja costumbre.
Sheriff, ¿qué ha pasado?
I love telling stories with the camera, to slowly build and to construct scenes and to construct a movie visually. So that's why I love this screenplay, because it was so visual. It wasn't really based in dialogue. It was based in watching them work and seeing the clues. But of course, on set, it's so much fun to work with the actors as well, and seeing these amazing actors make these scenes come to life. And always what you're looking for in a way is this balance between controlled acting, where they are doing what's scripted, but also adding these things that you cannot predict, that only these specific human beings can deliver.
Sin identificación ni huellas dactilares en el sistema. Nadie tiene ni idea de quién es.
Necesita mi ayuda. A las 11 en punto seré todo tuyo.
Of course, The Conjuring was an inspiration, but also a movie I love dearly is Seven, and it's so grounded and it's so realistic. And I figured, okay, if I'm going to make this movie into, turning it into a horror movie, I got to make it so grounded, where everything, you have texture in the audio, you have texture in the surroundings and the clothing and everything. It feels so real. And that was my basic approach. Also, I love the way David Fincher and his team shot, basically two people walking around in rooms looking at dead bodies. It's not so dissimilar in ways.
¡Papá!
I mean, I'm just a huge fan of just basic Hitchcock thinking, in a way. You set up something and you pay it off. and then you have to figure out what happens in between. I mean, how to build slowly or fast, or find a tempo, and then use music, sound effects, and especially, of course, the camera angles. I'm extremely preoccupied with where the camera goes. I spent hours every day. I didn't sleep more than 3-4 hours every day because I was up at 5:30 in the morning, sketching out exactly the positions of the camera for each moment and how they were going to move every day, the actors inside the room, and make sure that it flows and feels real, and it builds tension. Also have lots of ideas. We made lots of rules for how to shoot the movie and how not to shoot the movie. Always shooting certain types of shots always that way, and shooting other types of shots that way, and designing the set, very specifically. It's great fun to create tension and suspense. It's kind of my favorite thing to do with a movie.
Lo que hemos visto